Hello ProGuides family and welcome back to another video. My name is Dan and today we're going to be talking about one of the biggest mistakes that low elo players make. But before we reveal it to you, you know what time it is. It's time for the question of the day. Today's question is, what is your favorite way to take a site? Do you like calm, cool, and calculated plays with proper smokes and flashes to mind game and incapacitate the enemy? Or do you prefer the rush B, no stop, and obliterating any resistance? There is a time and a place for each, but I think everyone has a favorite. Personally, I just like to rush when I'm playing unrated or just trying to relax, but if I'm trying to play seriously, nothing quite beats that perfectly executed play. Remember to leave your thoughts in the comments down below, and with that, let's get into the video. Imagine you're trying to push onto a site. You have an Omen on your team who smokes off an important angle or two, and you and your team push onto the site and secure the spike plant. Now, let's say that instead of an Omen, you have a Brimstone on your team. He smokes off the same angles as the Omen, and you and your team push onto site and secure spike plant. Do you know what the difference between these two scenarios is? Yes, one of them has an Omen and one has a Brimstone, but other than that, is there really that much of a difference? Well, the answer is yes. Actually, there is a huge difference. The biggest mistake that low elo players make is grouping up agents as just person who smokes, person who flashes, person who gets kills. Let's rewind a little bit and go back over each of these scenarios, but a little bit more in depth this time around. Let's say we're playing on Bind and you and your team wants to push through Hookah onto site to plant the spike. Having an Omen versus a Brimstone drastically changes the different options you have available to take the site. An Omen will most likely smoke off CT and elbow while lurking around either B long or even A. He will enable your team to get onto site while striking from behind or causing chaos on site to draw attention towards him. A Brimstone, on the other hand, will most likely be sticking with the team, throwing down the smokes in the same positions, but being ready to trade any teammates that may fall while pushing site and retreating back to a safe area once spike is down to make use of his molly and stim beacons. All we did was change the agent who was smoking off important angles, and we have just fundamentally changed our game plan. However, today's video is not on how different agents play. Rather, it's how to take advantage of the type of utility that your agent brings to the table and how to understand how to play around the different types of utility. First up today, we're going to be talking about smokes and the different types of agents that have them. Generally, smokes tend to land on controller class agents like Brimstone, Omen, and Viper, but duelists like Jett and Sentinels like Cypher also have access to their own version of smokes as well. A big part of utility in Valorant is understanding how all the different smokes work and how long they last. For example, walking through an enemy Brimstone smoke is a lot safer than walking through an enemy Jett smoke because you know that the Brimstone is focused on blocking off specific lines of sight and might not be playing super close to the smoke trying to get kills. Jett, on the other hand, is an agent designed around frag hunting, so she is most likely going to be pushing through her own smoke or playing around it, waiting for someone to either push through or make too much noise on the other side of it so she can get a free pick. It is understanding how each agent wants to play around the utility that will shoot you up in ranks. It's not just important to know how each agent will play around their smoke, but how they will attempt to utilize their smoke in different ways. For example, Viper is the best agent currently for creating one-way lineups with her poison orb. So if you see a Viper cloud in a seemingly weird area with a gap at the bottom, be careful as there might be a Viper biting at ankles nearby. Smokes and utility in general are also not just intended for blocking off lines of sight for a push, they can also do wonders in playing mind games with your enemy. One of my favorite tactics as Brimstone is that if I still have access to 2 or 3 smokes and I'm in a retake, sometimes I place all my smokes around the bomb so that no angle can actually see it. Then I tap the bomb and move into one of my smokes. 9 times out of 10, the remaining players will run towards the bomb trying to kill the diffuser and panic when they aren't getting the kill. Wait for the footsteps to grow louder, then exit the smoke and enjoy your free clutch. Flashes are also super important to know how to use correctly and how they work. Like smokes, no 2 flashes are the same, and they all have different situations where they work differently. For example, you can shoot and destroy Reyna's flash, but good luck trying that with a breach flash. Now, we could go down the rabbit hole by telling you guys to use your flashes effectively, and only when you know people are close by, and you should. But creativity is the name of the game with utility, and understanding how a single flash can disrupt even the best laid plans might as well be a superpower. Firstly, I think everyone knows this already, but just in case you don't, turning away from a flash drastically reduces the amount of time you are blinded for, or even negates it completely. This works for all flashes except Omens, as it nearsights anyone it touches, no matter if they're looking at it or not. If you're playing an agent like Breach or Phoenix with more traditional flashes, there are some very creative ways you can use your flashes to catch people off guard. The first thing you need to know is that especially with Phoenix flashes, people will get scared and start to call for rotates or say that they're getting pushed really hard because one tiny ball of light came flying around a corner. Flashes reduce people's IQ by around 95%, so take advantage of that. If you can bait out a push with a couple flashes while having your team walk towards the other site, great. If you really want to get big brain, you can even miss a flash on purpose and fake footsteps like you're running away to try and get someone to peek into you thinking it's a free kill. With more exotic flashes like Reyna or Omen, take advantage of the noise people make while running around trying to get to what they think is a safe area. It won't work 100% of the time, but it's a good litmus test for figuring out who on the enemy team hasn't been watching ProGuides. In all seriousness, don't hang on to your flashes during rounds. Use them, but make sure you're using them in a way that you actually gain something. Sure, flashing a corner and pushing in is the most one-dimensional use of a flash ever, but if that is what's working for you in your games, then keep at it. One thing to keep in mind about using utility, or really any strategy for that matter, is that you can never rely on it. You always have to be willing to change up how you approach situations if you see something isn't working. Just like how you hopefully wouldn't peek into an op or mid every round, you shouldn't be using the same flash in the same way every round, lest you enjoy spectating others. Sometimes, though, you need that extra bit of help to get you to where you want to be. If that sounds like you, then just be sure to check out ProGuides.com, where we have some of the best coaches in Valorant just waiting to help you out. Whether it be mechanics, game sense, or good old-fashioned aim, our coaches are here to help you with whatever you need to climb the ranks. Check it out in the link in the description below. To keep things simple, we're going to be calling everything in this category a molly or incendiary just because it's easier to talk about that way. What we're referring to, though, is Brimstone's incendiary, Phoenix's hot hands, Viper's snakebite, and Raze's everything. Area of denial abilities are arguably some of the strongest in the game because of how they can force a team to burn time or have an important pathway blocked off. Sure, you can try to pull out one of your abilities in the middle of a rush, but good luck getting it off. In case you didn't quite get that, try to stop pulling out and using mollies and area of denial abilities at choke points when the enemy team is executing a rush, because one of these following things are going to happen. You are either going to look like a fool holding an ability when their Jet swings that corner with a Vandal in hand, or you're going to get the utility off and realize that the entire enemy team is on site and, oh yeah, Jet is going to swing you with a Vandal. Instead, if you want to use mollies to stop a rush, either have it equipped and ready to use the second you hear the rush coming, or just give them the space and instead molly off another important angle, like maybe default plant on site or close to it so you don't get pushed. Area of denial abilities also don't need to be used just to prevent rushes either. If you get a good hang on how the enemies play, feel free to use your abilities to prevent enemies from taking early map control. Tossing a Raze grenade or Phoenix hot hands into B-Link on split is a good way to make sure that you secure mid control early in the round as a defender. If you're playing an agent like Brimstone, you can go one step further and maybe even find some awesome lineups to use. There are some really useful lineups that you can use in post-plant situations as Brimstone. For Haven A-Site, for example, you can sit on the sandbags all the way at A long and line up the tip of your molly icon with the top right corner of the stone pillars in the background. Use the first one from the right for an A-long plant and use the second one from the right for an A-short plant. Even learning a couple of these mollies as a Brimstone opens up a lot of new ways to play mind games with your enemies, since you can just toss out a molly to cover the bomb, die while it's still traveling, and still win the round. I've said it before, but I will say it again. Creativity is the name of the game with utility, and the better you can learn how to use utility more creatively and in ways that enemies won't expect, the easier it will be to win rounds and in turn games. So far, we have only really talked about how to use utility creatively as an individual, the plays that you can make if you're solo queuing. While these solo utility plays are effective, to get the most out of utility, you need to use them in conjunction with other people's abilities. If you watch any professional matches, then you might have seen some combos like the Sage Slow Orb with a Brimstone Molly to really burn the competition. Obviously, not everyone on your team is going to be on the same page, which is why we always advocate at least duo queuing, so you know that you at least have one teammate you can rely on. However, even if you're solo queuing, you can still take control and lead the team. Taking a few extra seconds in the buy phase to ask people if they want to help you do something cool is a much better way of approaching asking people to do things in game than yelling about how you managed to win a 1v1 against an immortal player, so everyone needs to listen to you or else. Creative doesn't mean complex, by the way, so something as simple as a site fake could be all that's needed to throw your enemies off their game. Well guys, that's all we have for you today. If you liked this video, be sure to drop a like, and if you're feeling extra zesty, maybe even consider hitting that subscribe button. Don't forget to check out ProGuides.com with the link in the description down below. Remember to stay safe out there, and until next time, peace.